Hi everyone, welcome to the Hands Up for Trad afternoon show. It's a bleak day here in Loch Lomond, but no snow yet. Remember and tell us where you're watching from. Hey, what's that noise? Did someone leak to the public? We have the winner of the BBC Radio Scotland Young Traditional Musician Award. Oh no, the secret is out. Well, let's meet our guest today. Well, let's turn it off. BBC Radio Scotland Young Traditional Musician Award winner Michael Biggins, previous winner Anna Massie, and senior accompanist to the stars Michael Bryan.
What an entrance!
Okay, I might have taken that too far.
There's no such thing as too far.
Thank you, Mike Bryan. Well, congratulations, Michael Biggins. How did it feel?
It felt great, yeah. I totally wasn't expecting it. So it was like a big shock, but it was, it's good. Really happy, chuffed.
Oh, that's great. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute, but last night was the final concert in this year's online Celtic Connections, and to celebrate that, he's released a special video from the Hydro featuring piper Hazel White from the National Youth Pipe Band. So let's have a swatch at it. Great, and congratulations to Celtic Connections as well. A real success. 27,000 online tickets sold. It's in the press release, which is pretty amazing, I have to say. So, Mike, I was very glad to see Mike Biggins at your first official engagement as Young Trad Winner 2021 was a 7:45 a.m. appearance on BBC Radio Scotland. How did that feel?
I don't know. I mean, my brain wasn't engaged enough to answer any questions at that point. So I'm sure I can't remember what I said or what I was asked, but I went straight back to bed after it. Wasn't hungover though, which was nice. There was no pub to go to, so that was a sort of silver lining, if anything, you know.
Yeah, because I suppose in previous years you would have been on the club all night and just gone and got on the radio.
Probably, yeah. Probably. I feel like I've missed a rite of passage there.
I can officially confirm that this has been the case on at least one occasion.
I know, because what happens is you win, then we go across the road to the curry house in the Merchant City, and then you get a spot at the club, and Mike Bryan has agreed to play with you, and he gets to eat half his curry and then leave. Right, I have a nice picture here of you from the winning. That's a great picture. Yeah, that's great. Very good, actually. Anna, what do you remember about when you won back in 2003?
What about the night itself?
Yes.
I remember it being a really exciting thing, and it was one of the very first times I had ever actually performed in my own right in any sort of concert. Really, I had done a couple of competition things before, so there was an element of excitement and nerves about that. Like the competition element aside, I hadn't done all that much performance before. I really loved that. Actually, I remember really enjoying the night, and it was. The thing that strikes me now is how much the event has grown into an event. So I was only the third winner back in 2003. It was in the Strathclyde Suite at the concert hall. It wasn't, I don't think it was even recorded for the radio. It certainly wasn't filmed. It was a much more sort of, it felt like a less official sort of night. I really loved it, but I think it felt maybe a bit less pressure than the finalists would feel now.
Yeah, I remember that. It's interesting you say that. So when you won in 2003, BBC Radio Scotland were on board because they weren't on board for the first one. And I think Sean Purser was the producer of Travelling Folk in these days. I'm trying to remember if he recorded it. It wasn't as straight ahead. It's going to be live at 5 p.m. and everything back in these days, of course.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever heard a recording of it. I don't know if it was recorded. I know that there was a recording. The Real Blend were involved as well. It was back when that programme was still on, when Robbie Shepherd was still presenting the Real Blend as well as Take the Floor. And there was a sort of a performance involved in the prize. There was a sort of Radio Scotland performance involved. That I honestly don't think there was a recording, even from the desk or anything.
Yeah, it's funny, but I know that I think most folk would agree that it's actually difficult to win the BBC Radio Scotland Young Trad Award. However, I think it's probably even more difficult, that is, if you have to accompany all the 6 finalists and get nothing wrong. How does that work, Mike?
So to accompany all 6 finalists and get nothing wrong, I'm not sure I can truthfully answer that question.
I thought you guys did a fantastic job. I loved it. I really loved Sunday's gig. It was the strange thing about this year. I was sitting in the living room watching it on the telly. It was brilliant. I thought the band, the accompanist, did such a fantastic job, as well as Michael playing an absolute blinder and all the finalists. But the accompanist, I thought, were on particularly good form this year.
Thank you very much, Anna. That's very kind of you to say so. Yeah, it definitely felt good this year. This is my 10th year. 10th year as an accompanist for the finals. And although sadly we were missing Barry Hall this year just due to the COVID restrictions, we had Alistair Ian Patterson very nobly stepped in at the last minute. Previous competitor, of course, he made the finals 7 years ago, something like that. And then Paul Jennings playing the percussion. It's his 4th year doing the gig. So I think, plus also this year, it usually runs over 3 days: Friday rehearsal, Saturday rehearsal, Sunday soundcheck gig. Whereas this year, just due to circumstances, it was Wednesday rehearsal, Thursday day off, and I've always religiously recorded every rehearsal and not used them for anything at all. But this particular year, those GarageBand recordings proved extremely helpful. We all had a day in the house to just sit, look through our charts, isolate little bits in GarageBand recordings, and go from like to like 10 minutes later. Oh, I know exactly what that means. Fabulous. That will be good tomorrow, So we had that kind of day's practice, and then Friday another rehearsal, and then Saturday we did all the sound checks, and then Sunday the day of the gig. So I think the fact that it was stretched out more helped us, and also that the whole thing was at the BBC. So from a technical point of view, it's like a kind of home turf, I suppose, for the BBC. And then I guess just the experience of having done it this many times, all those things kind of contributed to, feeling, I wouldn't go as far as saying relaxed, but definitely, confident that we could do it,
Well, we're going to watch a clip of the last tune, Michael Biggins, from your winning performance. How did you go about putting it together? What was your ideas?
I don't know how I can answer that one, really. It was just a case of, I thought, well, I've gotten to the finals now, so I just really wanted to play stuff that I like, my favourite tunes, things that I'd played before, things that I was comfortable with. So there's sort of a lot of weird changes between tunes that kind of half work after a lot of effort trying to find chords to make them flow. But and I had a couple of playthroughs of things with like friends of mine as well to see, will this work, will this not, things like that.
Well, let's watch it. Oh, it's fantastic.
It's so good.
I was
so good.
I was saying to you the other night there, Anna, though, that ending there totally reminds me of your trip to Windsor back in 2003. It had the same amazingness and the way it grabbed everyone in the room.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you to say. I was like whooping and howling on my settee the other night when Michael was playing. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing! What's he doing? What's this section? The key changing bit and modulate the whole thing. It totally just grabbed everybody, I think. And the funny thing was, I was watching it on the telly, and Blazing Fiddle's WhatsApp group was like on fire because Bruce had been presenting it, and Jenna was sitting at home listening to it on the radio, and I think the radio was maybe slightly ahead of where the telly was. So I got this text from Jenna that just said, "Princess Beatrice!" I was like, what's she talking about? And I was like, oh! I was a little bit behind where she was. It's like, I see why she's got emotional on the
Because, of course, we need a special mention goes to Jenna's and Harris Playfair's version of Princess Beatrice.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure I've probably stolen a lot of the chords off that version.
Well, I'm sure Harris will be very pleased to hear that. I think special mention also, Michael Biggins, has to go to your Air. Helen's tune, is it?
Helen's song, yeah.
Helen's song. I was actually speaking to Hamish Napier after that. I sent him a text going, "Did you hear it?" And he was over the moon with your version. And I thought it was really brave what you did as well. You just played solo. And I mean, how did you come up with that arrangement? Because for me, it gave so much to the listener.
It was sort of a long process of me just sitting in the RCS and playing away on the pianos and seeing what I could kind of do with it. But when I was preparing the set, I knew I wanted to do something slowish and piano solo. So when I come to think of what it was, I knew instantly what tune I wanted to do, because that's probably one of my favourite tunes. And I'm a big fan of sort of Hamish's albums and stuff. So I thought there's probably a lot to be explored with it on the piano. So, yeah.
In the wee video beforehand, Mike, you talked about how you didn't really come from a musical family, but what was it about your granny's piano that you were saying?
I was talking some rubbish in that interview, but it was my grandma had a grand piano, a baby grand piano, which unfortunately I think she sold right before I took an interest. And I just have these images of her sort of sat in her armchair, drying her washing on the inside of the grand piano with a lid up, just sort of chain smoking in her seat.
So who was it who gave you your first lesson then?
I had an interest when I was really young at school, and I used to sort of beg the teachers in primary school to let us play the upright piano in the hall, even though I had no idea how to play it. And they had a talent show at the school, and they let me sit at the piano, and we used to sing these religious hymns in assembly, as you did when you were younger, and I was playing them with one finger in this talent show trying to get them. So they suggested that I find a piano teacher, and they suggested some guy in the middle of Newcastle who charged 40 or 50 quid an hour, which was sort of way out of my parents' budget. But funnily enough, we found my first piano teacher was a really lovely lady called Jean Armstrong, who lived down the bottom of the estate that we came from. And I had lessons with her for about 4 years, something like that. So I was about 11, I think, when I started, if I remember rightly.
All right. And what about you, Mike? What was your thing to get you started? Mike Bryan, sorry.
Well, believe it or not, growing up in Strathcanyard, 7 miles north of Ullapool, my first thing was getting in the car with my mother on a Saturday and going to Inverness for 2 hours of classical violin using the Suzuki method with a lovely old chap called Alek Sikoryk, Polish guy who ended up here around the time of the Second World War. So I did that for about 4 years, classical violin, and played in a junior string orchestra where I first met Adam Sutherland, funnily enough. So that was kind of my first thing.
What about your second thing?
My second thing was, let's say, that was fine from the ages of about 7 till 11, but then it kind of became apparent to me that as I was spending maybe 4 hours in the car with my mum every Saturday, much as I love my mother, and 2 hours learning classical violin when my mates were like playing football and chasing girls around, I kind of thought that might be more appealing. And around about that time, I heard Nirvana and Neil Young, and was like, right, chasing girls, playing football, and the guitar, and that was kind of me. And then further ensued when I heard. I'd always gone to the Fèis, so I'd been exposed to traditional music, but hearing like Martin Bennett and Shugal Nifty circa sort of 1994-5, then that was, I guess, what led me to the to the path I still find myself on.
And you, Anna, I mean, your parents, there was lots of music in your house, wasn't there?
Yeah, Dad played in ceilidh bands and just always played in the house. Mum played a bit of piano. Mum actually played the organ in our local church when we lived up in Kinlochbervie when I was really wee, and has always been an excellent spoons player. So there was always a bit of music in the house, and people would come and visit, and a lot of their friends were musical. So there was always something going on in the house. And Dad started teaching me guitar and a bit of mandolin when I was about 7. And then when I was 8, we moved down to the Black Isle, and there were violin lessons in school, and I was sent along to that. I absolutely hated it, fully hated it. I remember just like begging my mum and dad to let me stop. Like, why did they want this noise in their house? If any of you have ever had a beginner fiddle player in your house, you'll know it's an absolute hell sound. It's just horrible. And they were convinced that I should stick at it. And then we went up to the Lochinver Highland Games dance in the hall up there. And I was about 9 or 10, I think. And there was a band called the Real McCoy playing, and the fiddler had an electric fiddle. I just thought this was the coolest thing ever. And this was Debbie. She was Debbie Swanson, then she's Debbie Ross now. She taught violin in schools around Tain. She ran, and still does, runs the youth music group Bishop Briggs. She's taught a whole load of musicians from that sort of area. Laura Wilkie was taught by her. Fiona Dalgetty, who runs Face Rose. A lot of folk from up that area. Mark Bruce from Elephant Sessions was involved in Gibbs and Briggs. So she was a real inspiration. And once I started having lessons from her and my lessons in school, that's when I started actually practicing the fiddle and discovered that it was quite a good fun thing to do. So yeah, it was kind of early days, and just being exposed to loads of music in the Highlands was what got me going.
Oh, lovely. And Mike Biggins, we're going to watch a video of your band Trip. Did you all meet when you first arrived in Glasgow?
Yeah, it was almost meant to be, because we all found ourselves on the exact same corridor in Liberty House. And oddly enough, the only reason I was put on the same corridor as like the trad degree people is because I'd requested like to have the RCS put an upright piano in my room, because that used to be a thing where if you paid delivery, they'd give you one for free. So because that had to happen, they put me in the disabled room, and there only happened to be one free on that floor. So I was on the same floor as Craig Baxter, Isla Callister. I was next door to Rory Matheson, and we all ended up playing tunes in the kitchen, and then thought, oh, you know what, we should probably form a band. And it all went from there, yeah.
So what course were you studying then?
I was on classical piano.
And did you stay on that for the whole 4 years?
I did, yeah.
Oh, did
Just
you? Right.
finished, after all the coronavirus nonsense, now that we're allowed back in the building.
And as we're going to see in this band video, you play the accordion as well. Were you playing folk music before you arrived here?
Yeah, that was one of the main factors that led us to come to Glasgow. I auditioned at the sort of usual classical places like the Royal College and Academy in the Northern and all that. And then I figured like I didn't really want to have to give up playing folk music, so I thought Glasgow was probably the place to come.
Oh, great. Well, let's watch. This is a great clip, and really looking forward to hearing this album when it comes out too.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, a great bunch of musicians there from all over the place as well. Tiernan on flute, a fellow young tradder this year, and Isla from the Isle of Man, and it's a great set of musicians. I want to give a shout out to all the few people who are watching here. Hi to Philip, who usually sleeps at 2 o'clock but is ready for a bit of the afternoon show. Hi to Anne in Dunvegan, Helene from London. Hi to Vincent from a cloudy Leeds where the snow is disappearing fast. Drizzly Motherwell, Tom Clarkson, Michael Burns, who recognises your accent from Geordieland, who and says hi to Anna, welcome teacher at Footwork Summer School. Cass saying that some amazing playing from you there, Michael. And hello to Anne Robertson and Christine Mitchell from Ben Becula. She's also said, Michael Biggins, my vote was easily for you. Your performance sparkled.
Thanks very much.
So it's funny, we were chatting beforehand, guys, and we realised that it's unusual, but every one of you guys would be an accompanist. You know what I mean? It's usually there's a soloist or some fiddler or something in there somewhere. But you spend your life supporting musicians and making them sound good. Would that be right, Mike Bryan?
Yeah, that sounds like a fairly accurate description. It's certainly, I don't know, from a very, very early age for me personally. Anyway, the thing I enjoyed about music was the collective and the communal experience, and gravitating to the guitar, I guess, was a natural thing for me. But yeah, yes, I think that would be highly accurate, Simon.
What do you think about? Do you enjoy being an accompanist, Anna?
I do, yeah. I love it actually. There's something lovely about it. I think just in terms of how many people you get to work with, that's a really nice element of it. It tends to be quite a sociable thing. You're often as well. There seems to be the accompanist role. You know, you're quite often working with somebody else, like whether a piano player or a percussionist or a bass player or something. I kind of like that, like you're a unit within a unit. If you're in the sort of back.
Oh, well done, Anna. Well, that's enough of that. That was me. I cut her off there. Oh, she's back. Hold on. Right here. You're back.
I'm back. Sorry, it was just Hollywood on the phone. Had to answer that call. Big session coming in. No, I love being an accompanist. I particularly enjoy the freedom it gives you and that sense of adding to stuff. You know, kind of working it out to make things sound better, to bolster something. I like it a lot.
I mean, of course, I mean, I say accompanist as well, but you are all so much more. I mean, Anna, you've had I don't want to say a great lockdown, but an interesting lockdown in terms of your Black Isle correspondent vlogs, which were so popular and great and cheered so much us up all the way through. And you also sing and you write songs. And Mike's a rapper. We're all waiting for the Mike Bryan rap album to come out.
Come on, Mike. Come on.
It's coming. Oh, it's coming. I could show you reams of monologues. It's coming.
And Michael Biggins, of course, doing the classical course, you'll have a few concertos under your belt.
Yeah. I don't know if I could still play any of them, but.
Do you have a favourite at all of a classical piece at all?
One of my favourites is the second Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto. Definitely, that was one I tried to learn years ago, and it was like way beyond my ability. So I made a right mess of it, but still had fun trying to learn.
Is that the one that the guy is trying to learn in the movie Shine? Is that the sort of crazy, mad, difficult one?
Rachmaninoff 3 in that one, yeah.
That's okay.
One. It's a similar sort of, yeah. sort of boldness.
Did you have like giant hands? He had like an octave and a half span or something. They're plaster casts of Rachmaninoff's hands, and they were just absolutely massive.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've seen the cast. It's kind of unbelievable to try and match your own hand up with it. It's ridiculous size.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, Mike Biggins, I think you probably have all the technique for classical music that you want. And actually listening to you perform just on Sunday and every other time I've heard you perform, it's you could do it, no problem. And it's brilliant that you're actually bringing all that technique. And I have to say, ears, you're a great listener. You've got a great ear for stuff, that you're bringing that to folk music, which makes it really exciting for the future.
Thanks very much.
That was certainly something that came across from an accompaniment point of view, with what Michael brought us, myself and Paul, to do. It was highly complex, very technically challenging at parts, but all extremely musical. And I think that the awareness of having the whole classical thing in your locker, very enthusiastic about playing tunes, and also very much aware, being an accompanist yourself, of what would be appropriate, tasteful, and manageable as well. Made it a lot of fun. So kudos to you. Hats off.
Tom Clarkson saying that the Rachmaninoff Second Concerto was used in the film Brief Encounter. There you go. So we're going to watch our final video of the day, and it doesn't feature Michael Biggins at all. We are going.
I'm not going to watch it. More Biggins.
We're going to watch a video of the Nuala Kennedy Band from 2010, and it features the one and only super accompanist to the stars, Michael Bryan. You haven't changed very much, Mike, at all. You might be slightly thinner in it.
Yeah, slightly.
But I have to say, this is a tune that we played in the 90s, where Nuala would have learnt it in Edinburgh, and Alborada Asturiana, and you all look like you're having so much fun. Do you remember this well, Mike?
I remember it very well, yeah, because I'd known Nuala for a good few years in a kind of informal capacity, but we'd first started working together, making the album that this was on, and this was kind of the official launch of it at Celtic Connections, where we'd been in the studio in different groups, but for the album launch, she pulled everyone from all over the world that had played on the album together to play one gig. So it was kind of one of them where you first play as a band during the sound check, and then you do the gig on stage. So it had a lot of energy about it. I remember it being absolutely fantastic fun.
Well, and it definitely comes over. Let's watch it now. It's a great video. That some of my favourite musicians in there. Brian Kellogg, Ian McLeod, even Copeland. What a fabulous drummer!
Copeland, and that just brought my memories back there because Ian Copeland, incredible drummer, hadn't played on the album. It'd been Donald Hay, King of the Grooves himself, but it would have been he must have had another gig at Celtic Connections that day, and Ian kind of came in and don't even know if we ran everything at the sound check, and then just absolutely nailed everything on the gig.
Well, I mean, looking at that crew, I reckon that would have been some party after that gig.
Oh, yes. yes. I would say I remember it well, but that's probably not entirely right.
Oh, yes. Anna, can you hear us? Anna's saying everything's disappeared for her, but she's on screen and she's looking fabulous, but she can't hear us. Anyway, I'd like to thank you, everyone, to Michaels and Anna Massie, who's disappeared again for a second, for being here today. It's been great. It's been great to celebrate your win, Michael Biggins. We're so chuffed for you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Oh, hold on. Here comes Anna again. Can you hear us, Anna?
Yes, I'm back.
We were just saying thanks for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
A pleasure. Lovely to see you all.
We've definitely listened to some brilliant music. I've been dancing the whole time.
Yeah.
Magic.
So I want to give a quick mention to, on Friday the 5th of February, we have our Say a Gaelic Phrase Day hashtag, where we're asking everyone in the land of the world to actually try their hand at saying a Gaelic phrase day. Michael Biggins has already agreed in his Geordie accent to give us a little bit of Gaelic, and it can be as easy as Misha Simon or Tapalich or Moran Tang, and the idea is you video yourself and you put it on social media with the hashtag Say a Gaelic Phrase Day. We've actually got a website, sayagalicphraseday.com, and we've got lots of little clips that people can go and join in with. It's just to encourage people to have a go at speaking some Gaelic. It's not that difficult to start off with. It might excite you and you might want to take it to the next stage. So check that out, sayagalicphraseday.com. But anyway, guys, brilliant to hang out again.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for having us on. And congratulations again, Michael. Well deserved.
Yes, well done, Michael. Very well deserved.
Fantastic. We'll see you later.